from 11 to 1. It's time for Wolo Friends on Sports 56. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Wolo.
Good Tuesday morning. Do you believe in conspiracies? I don't know. The system the NBA's got, 1.8% chance for Dallas to get Cooper Flagg, the number one pick. 1.8%. Last year, it was 3%. Do you know that since 2019, the team that finished in last place, that would have gotten the first pick in any other league, has never gotten the first pick? Since 2019, 6 straight years, the worst team did not get the first pick. Now, I'm not a believer in conspiracies. I'll be honest with you. I remember the very first conspiracy in the NBA was one of the very first lotteries. Might have been the first. Patrick Ewing went to the New York Knicks, and the rumor was that David Stern, because they would pick it out of a hat, an envelope with the name of a team. And that David Stern had the Knicks envelope put in a freezer until they brought it on stage, and he reached in and he could feel for the cold one and then picked it out, and it was the Knicks because he wanted the number one market to have a good team. He lives in that town. He's a Knicks fan. He's not supposed to be impartial. He did a great job of building the league up. But that was the rumor. That was the conspiracy. I'm not sure I ever really bought it, but it's possible. I think it's almost impossible to fix this. It's a computer system. It's ping pong balls. It's complex. It'd be pretty hard to figure out how to rig this thing. But it does seem weird, 1.8% for a team. It's a big market in Dallas, and it's an upset market in Dallas. Their general manager, Nico Harrison, they begged the down the stretch as they came. They were the whole fandom was begging management, fire this guy for trading Luka Doncic, their star. Fire him. AD didn't get to play. Fire him. They were mad. Somehow this is the team that gets the first pick for a guy that is very likely to be a perfect candidate to replace Luka Doncic. Because Cooper Flagg can do just about everything. He's a good defender. He's a better defender than Luka. He's great offensively. We'll see if he can do that in this league, but he can shoot, he can drive, he can handle the ball. He's pretty darn terrific. The league has been blessed with Wembanyama and him, 2 guys that are can't-miss guys, or so they say, in 3 years. That's pretty heavy-duty stuff. And somehow, with 1.8% chance with ping pong balls, Dallas, Nico Harrison, get bailed out by getting the perfect guy for them. It'll be interesting to see how he and AD will team up. Kyrie comes back. Now they got a guard position. All of a sudden, Dallas is pretty good in this division.
Yeah, all of a sudden, what was not too long ago a despondent, very bad situation, it's completely turned on its head in the matter of a day. So you got to feel good for the Dallas Mavericks fans, if anything else.
Why in the world am I going to feel good about the Dallas fans? If
I'm
the Memphis fans, I'm bummed because now this guy's in your division. You got to see San Antonio with Wembanyama all the time. What if they get Giannis? I heard Greg Gaston speculating. A lot of people are speculating. If they got Giannis, can you imagine that team would have Wemby, Giannis, De'Aaron Fox, and Castle, the Rookie of the Year? Oh, my goodness. They go from being horrible to contending. By the way, same division.
You would think in that trade, Castle would probably have to be a part of it, but
maybe.
Even still.
I do think it would have to be. I think Castle would have to go. But you still have De'Aaron Fox. I mean, you got those 3 guys. You don't need Castle. And Castle's a good player, but I'd rather have De'Aaron. I mean, if you're choosing, would you rather have De'Aaron Fox?
I would.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing the way things work. But if I'm the commissioner here, I got to look at this. I got to look at this and say, I've had this system now for 6 years, and the worst team never got to pick. I mean, that's just not right. That's not good for balance, in my estimation. The poor Washington Wizards are terrible. They're going to stay terrible. Anyway, this was a nice note. I just saw this come out. I don't know when Memphis sent it out. Seth Hennigan was picked Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame Athlete of the Year for males. Men's Athlete of the Year in the state of Tennessee by the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. I know there had to be some Harold Grader influence on that. He is the biggest rep, sits on the board for the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, and so he was involved in some of these things. So congratulations to Hennigan. And I saw this video. Did you see the John Gruden unwrapping this package he got from the University of Memphis? He got golf balls and hats and shirts and flippers and incredible.
That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, Ryan Silverfield sent him this. And if you listen to his play-by-play of his opening up this stuff, he's talking about all the great stars that Memphis has had in the past. Goes back to Billy Murphy. Goes back to Tim Harris at Green Bay. Jerome Woods at Kansas City. Then, of course, he knows D'Angelo. He said, the last time I was in Memphis, I worked out Isaac Bruce. He goes through the history of the U of M, talked about Paxton Lynch and Fuente and Norvell. And, of course, he read this card that he got with all this gear from Ryan Silverfield, which I thought was pretty smart of Silverfield, all because, you know, he did this whole bit with Hennigan at his quarterback camp. And, you know, he said he was his dark horse guy. Obviously, it did not work out for the draft, but it did sign him with Jacksonville. And it was a really good bit and another cool thing. And you know, I got to give Ryan Silverfield all the credit in the world. I'm assuming it was his idea to send this stuff to Gruden, and he goes, thanks for taking care of my guy. Enjoy the gear. Whatever he said, it was all perfect. But, and I don't know if Silverfield had this intention, but then it becomes a national story because Gruden, with his own beautiful way of self-promotion, promotes the U of M on a national level. And just terrific stuff. And so, Seth Hennigan, we salute you, Male Athlete of the Year by the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. We'll talk about that on our last segment with Jonah Dillon. The Cardinals won their 9th straight game. Thank God the Cubs won last night. So Chicago's still one game ahead of St. Louis, but this is a surprise. Why are the Cardinals on this hot streak? Pitching has to be involved because their run differential is only plus 25. It's decent, but it's not like overpowered. The Cubs are plus 53. But why are they turning this thing around? We are a quarter of the way through the year, folks. Tim Doolin will have the answers in the next segment. And we got to talk about Aaron Judge. Have you seen what he's still doing?
Hard to miss it.
This is crazy stuff. So the guy is hitting .414, 65 hits, 40 RBI, 14 home runs, 1.283 OPS. Those are all the best in the major leagues. At this point, he would win the quintuple crown if there was one. And I mean, this is a quarter of the way through. This isn't like a 2-week stretch in April, the beginning of the year. This is 40 games through the major league schedule, and this guy has these kinds of numbers. And I go back. Remember, he had a terrible beginning to last year and then poured it on at the end. Elijah, if he pours it on at the end here, I'm not saying this is going to happen because you're going to go through slumps. Everybody does. But if he had a finish like he had last year to this beginning this year, the guy might just hit 400 with 60 home runs. What would we do if that happened? What, he's got 40 RBI. That could be 160 RBI. My God. This
Talking
could be the
greatest
season.
singular seasons of all time.
Yes, this could be a season for the ages, the way it's going. It's a remarkable story. We'll talk with Tim Doolin about that as well. The NFL is releasing everything tomorrow, right? We've seen little bits that have leaked out. So here's what we know for sure. And Today's Show leaked this yesterday because, of course, they have this game. It's the Philly-Dallas. It'll be a Thursday night football game. Then on Friday of opening week, it'll be the Chiefs and the Chargers in Brazil. They basically released every one of the foreign games. For instance, October 19th, the LA Rams and Jacksonville in London. On November 9th, it'll be the Falcons and the Colts in Berlin. On the 16th of November, the Dolphins and the Commanders in Madrid. So TJ Reeves had that right when we talked to him yesterday. Yesterday. He thought it would be the Commanders. There were a lot of people thinking it would be the Bucs. He did not think so. So he's not going to Madrid, but those two teams are. It's amazing to me. So now we've got Brazil, London, Berlin, and Madrid. South America, Europe, Germany. I think the last time they were in Germany was Munich. So have they ever been in Berlin before?
I don't know. I don't think they have.
Used to have a band called Come In Berlin, right? I think they had a famous female singer in that. And then in Spain, another European city. So here's the thing. Are we gearing this thing up? Are we going to have an international Super Bowl? I don't understand why there is this clamoring. They've already tried a European league, the World League of American Football in Europe, bombed. I think, what did it last, 2 years maybe?
It didn't last very long.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
It's a year or two. It wasn't any more than 2 years. It bombed. I'm not sure why Roger Goodell and the ownership groups have this fascination with having all these international games. There's got to be some reason. Maybe they envision another try at a World League of American Football 10 years from now. But something tells me, and I don't know for 100%, I have no insight from knowledge, just speculation. Could they be thinking, we play a Super Bowl in London, or we play a Super Bowl in Spain, or we play a Super Bowl in Germany? The only thing is, you've got the 6-hour time delay. So you'd have to start that game. You wouldn't want to start it any later than, say, 6 o'clock Central Time. So you'd have to start that game at noon. It's 5 hours difference in between London and New York, 6 hours here. So I think that I don't think it's awful, but I think you'd have to figure that out. But can you think of any other reason, Elijah Seegers? You are a logical, deep-thinking young man. Can you understand why this fascination with so many European games? Maybe they want to sell a lot of merch there. I have no idea what the revenue stream of that is, but it just fascinates me because I can't figure it out. I don't understand why they are so passionate about trying to play now. How many games is that? 1, 2, 3, 4 games this year overseas.
Yeah, I think the biggest reason that I can give, and it's kind of from a philanthropic perspective, is that it's for the younger generation maybe. And we see that with the NBA with their Africa League, their U18, U16 leagues. I think that the NFL is going to start instating some of that in Europe and in South America, and then eventually, if it does well, expand to Asia and Africa beyond that. But I think it's not necessarily just for like marketing purposes to have their events at these certain places, which is obviously, a perk, a big time perk. But I think it's setting the stage for the future of the league to really expand and grow beyond, our borders.
So you think there's some philanthropic aspect to this? So that would be money that's channeled, say, into Africa. I think the NBA's main goal there is to grow the game and to get more people involved. Again, they would have the same problem. I know where the league is already international, right? They've got a team in Toronto. They used to have a team in Vancouver. Thank goodness they don't anymore. They may end up with another team there. I think it's to grow the game. I don't see how you could have a game, let's say a team in Johannesburg or Cape Town. I mean, the travel would be just too crazy. I don't think you could have a European team that with the time difference, unless you had travel partners for a week and then they came here and you were using some you bring back those Sonic jets. I don't see that. I do think the European or the African Academy that the NBA puts out there, I do think that's to grow the game. And there's a lot of athletes there, and you've seen, at least in colleges, a lot of kids from Africa that have come over, and sooner or later you'll probably see a major superstar that has developed from there. But I'm not sure, and I don't think there's anything philanthropic at all by the NFL here. I think this is all about dollars and cents. I just haven't quite figured out the whole darn thing. And then finally, I guess, NBA last night. I mean, we can obviously say goodbye to the Boston Celtics, because if you saw the injury to Jason Tatum, and it was really weird. That was a game. It was tied with like 4 minutes to go. And the score ended up being one-sided, 121-113. They went on this 12-0 run, I think. And at the end of the 12-0 run, you see their star, who had 42 points in the game, Jason Tatum, lunge for a ball and then quickly grab his right foot, or above his right foot. And I am not a doctor. I am not an orthopedist. I just know I've watched a lot of injuries in my 72 years. And the first thing I thought was, that's an Achilles.
I did as well.
They have no one has mentioned Achilles in all of this. They just say severe injury. They say right foot. It's a bit above the right foot. But where he grabbed, the pain that he was in, the inability to put any weight on it at all, and just the way it happened, non-contact, lends me to believe, and they, I guess, are having an MRI, that it is an Achilles tear. And they'll coming back from that for this year. And honestly, that's a 12-month. Well, we saw, and Brandon Clark really rehabbed quickly. That was a full year, though, right? So that means he's going to miss all of next year and the next postseason. He would not be back until the 26-27 season. He's young enough, and I'm assuming he will work his butt off because he was in great shape. But that is a staggering blow to the defending champions, and it's pretty obvious now. We're not going to have a defending champ again. Well, I can't remember. I was thinking about this, and I meant to look it up. And if you don't know offhand, maybe you can look it up quickly. When was the last time we had back-to-back champions?
It was the Golden State Warriors in 2017 and 2018.
It's not that long ago. We're talking 7 years ago that we had back-to-backers, but that's still significant. And I don't believe we're going to get it this time, because that when Tatum went down, so did the Celtics' chances. But even if Tatum had stayed healthy, if that play did not happen, they weren't winning this game, because Jalen Brunson, the new Michael Jordan, and Mikal Bridges, those two guys have been the difference in this series. You can say all you want to about Karl Anthony Towns. I know he did double-double last night. But the guys who make the plays in the clutch have been those two guys. And in particular, defensively, Bridges has been brilliant. He played really good with his mid-range jumper last night. And what can you say about Brunson? I mean, I knew Brunson was here's what I would say about him, tenacious winner. I knew he was that when he was at Villanova. Did you ever in your mind envision that he would become this kind of NBA star?
Not in a million years. Not in a billion years.
Yeah. It's really something else. First of all, I get surprised by guys like this all the time, particularly guards. Like, do you remember Wichita State when they had Fred Van Vliet and Ron Baker?
I do.
I remember Ron Baker. Memphis played them at a place called the Pentagon in one of the Dakotas. I think it's South Dakota. And Ron Baker took Memphis apart. Now, Van Vliet was very good in that game. And I watched that team, Greg Marshall's Wichita State team, a lot. And I marveled at how well they played. But I thought for sure that Ron Baker was the guy, that he would become the NBA guy. And then here's Van Vliet, who just has had this great career, and Baker never made it. So you never really know. Adam Morrison's another guy from Gonzaga. I thought for sure he is a lock to be a great NBA player. And look at his draft position. A lot of people thought that and never could make it. So you just never know. But Brunson is he's amazing.
There are very few guys in the history of the NBA who can take over a game in the last few minutes like Jalen Brunson has been able to.
And then Golden State was a winner last night over Minnesota. They're up 3-1. I can't see them. Minnesota's a better team, and without Curry, there's no way. And I thought it was funny. What is it, 48 hours after the fact that Draymond Green meets the press and apologizes for, I guess he said I was a coward. At least he was honest about not addressing the media after the Game 3 loss. But that's over. Now there's only one series that really is intriguing, and it's on tonight, and that is Denver and Oak City, tied at 2-2, and we'll see if OKC can now keep home court advantage, because remember, they lost it and then came back and won a game in Denver. So that is at least one of the 4 semifinal series or quarterfinal series. That is the one intriguing one that remains. We got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk some baseball as I sit in the Family Leisure Studios. And again, a reminder, pool time is absolutely here with these deals still on the docket for about 5 or 6 weeks now. And I hope you're taking advantage, and I hope you're getting on the pool installation list so you have some priority. So when it gets hot, your pool will be ready. But those 24-foot pools, they are starting at under $2,000. The liners at under $300, and all pool accessories, they are 20% off. If you want patio furniture as they move stuff in and out, 50% off some of the select sets that were in vogue last year. I mean, they are absolutely beautiful and state-of-the-art. And again, I urge you, if you're getting a pool, because it is pool time, mention us, and the installation is free. We pause for a second. When we come back, it's Tim Doolin on baseball right here on Wolo and Friends.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Sports 56 and 95 FM. At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli, with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises. basketball skills to the next level at Shoot 360 Memphis. Shoot 360 is a revolutionary basketball training facility that combines cutting-edge technology with gamification and provides instant objective feedback, hands-on, one-on-one expert coaching. And now, introducing Shoot 360 Cordova, a newly renovated 50,000 square foot facility with 2 NBA regulation-sized courts, 3 high school-sized courts, and 4 shooting bays with Shoot 360 technology. Memberships are now on a monthly basis. And yes, you can become a member in both locations. Whether you're an aspiring young talent, NBA player, or looking for a unique workout, all skill levels are welcome at Shoot 360 Memphis to learn proper shooting and passing techniques, improve fundamentals, and gain a competitive edge while having fun. Shoot 360 Memphis, now in Cordova and Conner, will hold them today at 901-779-3176. That's 901-779-3176. The future of basketball training is here. Shoot 360 Memphis. Online radio show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Nancy Porter with 24/7 Sports. Your Ole Miss defensive guy, Mike Fitzsimmons. Gordon Ford covering SEC sports film. And former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Garvey from kickoff to free throw to extra innings. Your Ole Miss sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show. Right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South sports station.
Cruising through our Tuesday. Well, the Cardinals were kind of cruising through the year, and then suddenly 9 games ago, they figured something out. They are on a tear. They have won 9 games in a row. They are, if the season ended, and we're a quarter of the way through, so there is some story here. They would be a wild card team. They trail the Cubs by only 1 game. Tim Doolin talks baseball with us every Tuesday. Tell me, my man, my guru, what the heck has happened? Why are the Cardinals so hot?
Well, I think they're getting some continuity. I mean, obviously their pitching staff's doing well. Their bullpen's doing great. I honestly think the biggest thing, Wolo, is that, you know, going into the season, there was so much distraction in the media with, is Arenado going to stay? Is he going to be traded? Or, you know, is he happy? Is he not happy? I think that's all kind of died down. He's come out 3 or 4 days ago and expressed how much fun it is to come to the park again. And I think a lot of that has kind of calmed that clubhouse down, and he's probably engaging a lot more as a leader in the clubhouse than probably he was before, because I think at one time he really wanted out. But they are playing great, 9 in a row. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Long season to go. I think we discuss it every year for many years on the show. This division is up for grabs, and it seems like it always is, and I think it is again this year.
Why do you think that is? There's definitely commitment by the Cubs salary-wise, by the Cardinals usually. I don't know why the Milwaukee Brewers seem to always be in the mix. Cincinnati has not been good really since the Big Red Machine just about. It seems like they have not really been as big a spender. And then the Pirates, obviously in their small market, have really, really struggled. And they have for a long, long time. But what is it? The Cubs, Cardinals spend. Why are the Brewers always in this thing?
I think all of those clubs. I mean, if you think about it, I think it makes some sense. Is that, you know, of all the teams in baseball, I think this division has been one that has continued to play what you and I would have called a National League brand of baseball: speed, defense. Some home run power, but it's not swing and miss as much as, say, the American League and some of the other divisions in the National League. So I think it's because they thrive on their history and their culture of playing fundamentally sound baseball. And when you talk about the Cubs and you talk about the Cardinals, and you know, over the last probably 10 or 15 years, the Brewers have kind of mirrored that whole mindset of just going out and playing clean baseball. And then every year you get lucky and you get some superstars that rise, but at the end of the day, I think it's just because of that.
Yeah, it's interesting to me too, because the major leagues in baseball has the biggest disparity between teams. Like, I think the Cardinals pay, not the Cardinals, the Dodgers pay Shohei Ohtani more money than the entire Florida Marlins payroll. In Chicago, the same market, the Cubs, I want to say their payroll is $193 million, and the Cubs is $75. It's almost a third. It's a little more than a third of what in the same market the Cubs will spend. I don't understand. That's ownership thinking, right? So it just matters so much who your owners are. And the Cardinals have had Anheuser-Busch behind them for a long time, still do by advertising, not by ownership anymore. But that group has spent money.
Yeah, and I think I think it's, for years the Cubs have looked up and you say, okay, we're basically attendance-wise great. We're thriving and making money by just being competitive. They don't have to spend money to get to the playoffs to increase their bottom line dramatically. So I think it's just how are you running your business? Most of these guys aren't doing it to put cash in their pocket. It's more about building wealth and and you've seen the price of these franchises go up and up over the years in all sports. So I think it comes down to that is just, do you want to go spend money in free agency to try to maybe win 5 or 6 more games to get deeper into the playoffs instead of being a wild card contention every year? I think it's just a mindset. Obviously, the Dodgers are in a different stratosphere. The Yankees, the Red Sox, they've got money to spend. In most cases, they spend it.
It's a trace to money. Usually, that's where they are in the standings. Not always, but that is usually the case. There's one other great Major League story before we turn to the SEC, and there's a good story there, too, or two. But let's go to Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge, and I mentioned this earlier, he's hitting .414, 65 hits, 40 RBI, 14 home runs, 1.283 ops. That is number one in every category. This is not early in the season. This is a quarter of the way through the year. I mean, it's still early. Don't get me wrong, but 25%. If he has a finish like he did last year, he could be the first guy to hit 400 since Ted Williams. This is becoming a major story because you are 25% through the year. And if you look at the way he finished last year, of course, he had a terrible start, but this could be historic.
Well, it could be, and it's a great story. I mean, we got to keep in mind, not only is it a great story, it's just very few guys, other than Frank Robinson, that were in his stature as far as physical and how tall, how he moves. It's amazing what he's doing thus far. Hopefully he stays healthy because I think that's going to be a bigger key than just the length of the season. I think the length of the season is going to play a part, but can this guy stay healthy, for 162? He's definitely got the physique to do it. It's just a matter of can he do it because because the fact of the matter is he plays the game the right way and doesn't like to take days off.
Well, the other aspect for me is, can a guy who in an era where we love power baseball, torpedo bats, and everybody tries to go long and, as we've talked about swinging up here, which you say is a misnomer, but can anybody that hits with that much power and is known for that actually have enough contact to hit 400? I mean, he's a quarter of the way through. He's hitting 414. Could anybody do that?
I think what you're seeing, and I think Harold Reynolds was talking about the other day, kind of evaluating, this so far as well, is that one thing that I'm seeing him do that he hasn't done in the past is sometimes in deeper counts, when he gets to 2 strikes, he's shooting balls to right field and taking a single to right, which, as when Pete Rose was chasing it and the likes of him, he was all about contact and all about putting balls in play. He didn't have the power, obviously, that we're talking about now with Judge. But for him to be able to hit 400, he's going to have to continue to do that because just going up there and concentrating on hitting 35 to 50 home runs, it sounds, I don't want to make it sound easy, but think about it this way, if you had 600 at-bats, and let's say you have power, I'm going to give you 600 at-bats, and the industry doesn't care if you strike out 200 times. The industry doesn't care if you hit 220 or 280, you can swing really hard 600 times and run into 35 to 40 home runs. And a lot of guys are doing that to get paid. Whereas you got a guy like Judge who's the consummate hitter, the consummate athlete. And I think for him to hit 400, he's going to have to continue to use the whole field.
Well, he's got 65 hits, so he's on a pace for 260. Anybody hits 200 hits in a year is considered great. 260,
absolutely.
He's on a pace for 56 home runs. I mean,
there you go.
He's on a pace for 160 RBI. He can't keep that up. Come on,
not going to happen.
No.
But it's great to talk about, and so far it's been great to watch.
Here's another great story. Let's turn to the SEC. I don't know you love that as much as you love Major League Baseball. Since Justin Parker took over as interim coach at Mississippi State for Chris Lemonis, the Bulldogs have gone 6-1. They have won 2 SEC series, including the Governor's Cup, a series against Ole Miss. Could they actually make the tournament?
Well, I think they could. I mean, there's got to be some things happen this last weekend, obviously, and we'll know after this weekend. I don't think the SEC tournament's going to play in a factor in this unless Mississippi State were to make a run in the SEC tournament and win it, which is going to be very difficult to do because this year, adding the new teams that were added to the SEC, it's everyone goes to the tournament, single elimination. Obviously, the top teams get buys, but it's just a long road over the course of 4 or 5 days to say, yeah, we got a really good chance to win it. And it did happen when Andy Cannizzaro got fired and Coach Henderson took over, and they made a big run. He was the interim coach, and they made a big run. Got to Omaha, and so this interim coach is good. He was highly touted as a pitching coach. Very has a great relationship with players. Is able to relate. So I'm sure he's thinking that the more they win, the more chance he's got of maybe being in the mix to be hired. I don't think it's going to happen, but sometimes players rally around all the things that happen, and you're seeing that definitely right now in Starkville.
Well, this might have been what the AD was thinking, that maybe if this team turns around into Lemonis, I'm stuck with him and made the move now. I don't know if he saw this coming or if they just are playing better and harder for this new coach. It's remarkable to win 6 of 7 after your guy gets let go. That is for sure. One last thing, it's an interesting story. We've talked about it all year because Missouri was 0-24 in league play with only 2 series remaining. The first series was in College Station against A&M, and that was the preseason favorite to win the SEC, and somehow Missouri swept all 3. How did Garrett Jackson's team turn that around? I know it's a lost year, but that says something about him and able to at least finish on a better note.
Well, I don't know that A&M has struggled all year, and it's been a roller coaster. They started out terrible, then they got hot, and then there's no way you should. It doesn't matter how bad you've been. You shouldn't get swept by a team that hadn't won a game yet. However, obviously, Garrett Jackson has got to be ecstatic about going there and sweeping, and then hopefully he can win a few more games and then start building something at Missouri. A&M goes into Georgia this weekend, and it's critical for A&M to win 2 out of 3 if they've even got a chance, which I don't think they do, of getting in the tournament. Georgia's playing for a national seed, possibly by needing to win 2 out of 3, so that's going to be an important series. All these series in the SEC this coming weekend are going to be critical because everybody's been beating each other up.
Texas 20-7 has a 2-game lead on Arkansas and a 3-game lead on LSU. Are those the 3 best teams?
Well, Arkansas swept Texas this past weekend. So again, I think they definitely are. But it's no different, Wolo, in this league. It's no different than when we talk about Major League Baseball. It's like not necessarily the best team; it's the team that's playing the hottest going into the tournament. And so you get on a roll here, the next 2 weeks, You go into a regional, you got to win 3 games. If you're hot, you can win 3 games. Then you go to super regional, you got to win 2 out of 3. It's not that tall a feat if you're playing well. And some of these teams are starting to play well at the right time.
Can't wait for it all. I meant to tell you this earlier when we spoke. I'm going to be off the next couple of weeks, so you're going to be off the next couple of weeks, but we'll be hot and heavy into either regionals or maybe the College World Series when we convene in 3 weeks.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Tim. We appreciate you.
All right, bro.
That's our man on baseball. That is Tim Doolin. He's brought to you by Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. Ken knows you're making a big decision. You may be trying to figure out how to utilize land that's been in your business to build that dream home. Maybe you're trying for a renovation. You don't want to leave that lot that you've had forever, but you want the modern amenities. You want that video room with the speakers in the wall and the theater seating. You want the California closets. You want the island in the kitchen. You want the newest of appliances. I get it. And I don't blame you. And the guy to do it is Ken, because he's done renovation with innovation for years. Go to his website, kengarland.com. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. He sees little details, big picture. He's got 75 years of wisdom. His dad started the company. Ken's now running it, and his son William's in the business. 3 generations of Ken Garland. Believe me, if you're building a new home or you're renovating, they are the ones to choose. Ken Garland, Custom Home Building. And this portion of the show brought to you by Miramichi. The best day to play for rates is Thursday. They're open on Mondays. You know all about Miramichi by now because I've been talking about it for years. This beautiful gem of a track in Woodstock, not in Millington, 25 minutes from my driveway in East Memphis. I'm there, and I'm on the driving range. You got great practice facilities, and then you got this beautiful course with choice of 4 or 5 different tee boxes. You can make it as difficult as you want. If you're a young guy, you want to be in the Bubba, they're going to play that there this year. You can go all the way back. If you're an oldster like me, you can move up. It's going to be beautiful the whole way around. That back 9 is like a walk through the woods and hills with a meandering stream. It's gorgeous. It's the true golf experience. It's Miramichi. We take the break. When we come back, we talk a myriad of topics with Jonah Dillon, football beat writer for the University of Memphis and the Commercial Appeal, and he comes your way right here on Wolo and Friends.
Sports56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Rolling Tire keeps you. Rolling Tire Auto Service is your local family-owned business for over 60 years. They are still committed to the highest quality products and service. All changes to engines, Rolling Tire can get it done. They have tires for cars, trucks, SUVs, trailers, even lawn and garden tires. Don't get bogged down by ordering the wrong tires online and overpaying. Take advantage of their 6-month savings cash offer. Cordova, Collierville, Olive Branch, Arlington, and online at RollingTire.com.
Huge news. Right now at Wendy's, you can get a Son of Baconator for just $3. I don't think you understand this situation. The Son of Baconator is only $3 for a limited time. You know, smoked bacon, rich melted cheese. That Son of Baconator is only $3. Thank you to whoever wished upon that star. For bacon that just won't quit, gotta be Wendy's.
U.S. price and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Alaska and Hawaii, not valid on a combo or in third-party delivery platform.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director of Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Life's all about timing. We chat with Tiger Commercial Appeal beat writer Jonah Dillon at the perfect moment, at least regards to his Seth Hennigan story, because today it was announced that the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame has named Seth the Male Athlete of the Year. And Jonah, good morning. You did a great story on Hannigan and his feeling a bit snubbed by not getting picked up in the draft, but going to Jacksonville. Your thoughts on his selection today and what you think his future will truly be?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I mean, I think he's got every opportunity to, at the very least, kind of hang on as a practice squad guy, and that's what you want at this point in your career. You kind of just want to hang on to a roster, right, and get an opportunity to kind of build with somebody. You see a lot of guys who sign as undrafted free agents, and even if they do well, if you get cut before the season and then you kind of bounce around teams, a lot of times it's hard to stick around long-term in the NFL. Some guys do it, obviously, but if you're able to stick with the team and kind of stay in their developmental program, that ends up being the best case scenario for a lot of guys. And I think he's got every opportunity to do it. I mean, like he said in that story when I talked to him, he had options after the draft ended, and that's kind of the benefit of being undrafted free agent is, especially for a position like quarterback where there's only so many spots, you really want to pick somewhere where you feel like you have a legit chance to make a roster. And obviously, he felt that way about the Jaguars. And like you said, I mean, we know all the accolades. Not surprising that he won another award. I feel like it's just going to keep coming. We're going to see some every day. It'll be, here's another stat that Seth Hennigan broke, another record. And man, it's going to be strange seeing somebody else under center, I guess not under center, but in shotgun for the Tigers this fall.
I'll get to that in a second. But you make this point, and I've often wondered, Kobe Minor's the last guy taken in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant this year. But that's the end of the 7th round. Let's just say you're in the middle or the beginning of the 7th round. You've got to go to a team where you're going to be maybe in a situation where there were another player or two that was drafted ahead of you that you've got to battle with. In this particular case, when you're a free agent, like Seth was, or like all the other guys that signed free agent deals, you get to pick where you go, where you might actually have the best chances of making the team. Do you think it's advantageous if you're a 7th round guy or a free agent guy? Which route, if you were a dad, would you want your son to take?
Well, it depends on the situation. I mean, I totally understand. There's a lot of players who will have their agents tell teams not to draft them in the 7th round because they're already trying to figure things out. I mean, to be honest, if you look at what happened with Blake Watson last year, that's basically, he was going through the 7th round. Obviously, it was a borderline pick. And kind of similar to what we talked about with Seth Hennigan, he wanted to go somewhere where he felt like he had a legit chance to make the roster. And he knew Denver was after him. Now, Denver had a pick right at the end of the 7th round, so they could have taken him there. But then once you're a free agent, then obviously, you can negotiate with multiple teams, which could give you leverage, especially if you're one of the top guys on the board. And that's kind of what happened there. So at the same time, yes, you have the leverage, it's a cool opportunity. But if you get drafted in the NFL, you get to say you got drafted in the NFL. So I think a lot of guys are weighing that. Versus, hey, I was an NFL draft pick. Obviously, with Kobe Minor, you're Mr. Relevant, so people know who you are now, and you're going to kind of carry that, especially with what Brock Purdy has done. You're going to carry that through your career, which is going to help you because people are going to know who you are. So I totally understand it. I think if you play one of those positions where there's only a couple spots, I totally understand why you're saying let's just wait and negotiate after the draft then.
You sound like you think Hennigan has a good shot of making the Jaguars. Is there any other guy that signed as a free agent that you think will stick and make it in the NFL?
Yeah, I just thought Chandler Martin is going to make it. I thought it since he got to Memphis, basically, he's been so impressive with how he's played and his development and his productivity and what he does. If you had asked me, I think he did before the draft, he was the guy that I would have expected to be drafted. And he's just the kind of guy, it's kind of similar with Blake Watson. It's kind of obvious going into last year, you would see all these stories coming out. Oh, this Blake Watson guy plays really hard. He does multiple things. And it's like, he followed Memphis. You're not surprised by that. And so I wouldn't be surprised at all. And I would actually expect it that once we get to training camp, you're going to see a tweet out there about, man, this Chandler Martin guy at Ravens camp, he's really turning some heads. He's playing really hard. He's really productive and he's doing multiple things. As obviously people who are around the Tigers program, we've seen him do that. And so it just feels like he's the guy who's going to stick and he's going to have a career in the NFL. Like we've talked about, if he was a couple inches taller, it'd be a different story, but still, I think he'll be able to stick.
You mentioned it'll be weird to go out there and not see Hennigan under center in a Memphis uniform. And I thought you did a very clever thing with trying to do a story on A.J. Hill. We all saw what he did in the Blue-Gray game. We saw little bits and pieces during the very short periods of time you're allowed to see him in practice, and you couldn't talk to him, so you went to coaches to find out about him. What is your sense of A.J. Hill, and do you think he ends up playing in 4 games, which means he keeps a redshirt year? He can actually play in a bowl game, too. How much do you think we'll see of him?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question right now. To me, I still feel like, as we talked about, I feel like Brandon Lewis is going to be the starter unless something changes. And if he's the starter at the beginning of the season, obviously you would think he's going to have an opportunity to keep that job as long as things don't go badly. If things go badly, if the season, the opportunity to get to a conference title game goes out the window, then you talk about, okay, you want to build for the future. You want to give this guy a chance. And I can see that happening. I feel like I wrote about this in my mailbag a couple weeks ago. I still feel like I would take the under on him playing more than 4 games at this moment. And one of the other things is I think they're confident Arrington made him too. So I don't think they're going to burn a red shirt necessarily, unless they have to. At the same time, and Ryan Sorfield talked about this last year with Makari Bodiford, who played in 4 games. And I remember asking him, "Hey, are you going to shut him down because of the red shirt rule?" And he said, at this point, like, people might get 5 years of eligibility by the time these guys are seniors. And obviously, if they come to me and they say, "Hey, I don't want to play, I want a red shirt," then that's a different story. But I don't know that teams are necessarily thinking about the 4-game redshirt rule the same way they used to, in the sense of, like, they've got a spreadsheet and they're like, okay, this guy's shut down and all those things. And also because guys are transferring. So how much benefit do you have?
Right. So why am I going to keep this year for another team? That's right. The way coaches think.
Yeah. So it's tough because I don't know that necessarily, because we think about it like, okay, is he going to play 4 games? That's going to change a lot of stuff. I don't know that the coaches are thinking about it that way, right? They're not thinking about, let's make sure we don't get to this number. But yeah, I mean, it's been interesting throughout spring to see how people are how those coaches talked about him. And I think the thing that stuck out to me was the way they talked about his maturity. I mean, you're talking about somebody who's still 17 years old, right? And so the way they talked about his maturity and his football IQ and stuff like that, I think that's a really good sign for just how they view him in terms of his long-term potential as a quarterback.
Later this week, we could finally get the resolution to the House settlement, which would mean that the teams can spend up to $20.5 million. This is not counting NIL, but a cap of $20.5 million revenue share with their student athletes. And the breakdown would end up being 75% football. And they figured out this formula, and I think it's a recommendation, not you've got to. But the revenue split 75% because that's of the money that comes in from revenue streams, 75% is generated from football, 15% from basketball, 5% they say will go to women's basketball, and 5% to other sports, all the others, including baseball, which was kind of shocking to me that women's basketball would get 5%, but that is the way they break down the revenue stream. What's your thoughts on how this will end up affecting all of college sports, but in particular the U of M, where we really don't know how much revenue that they're going to split, or really how they're going to split that revenue?
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest question for me, is how much money is, and I don't know that we're going to have an exact number ever really, but the question is how much money is Memphis going to share up to that cap, right? So the biggest schools, we know they're going to share the maximum, and the question is going to be how they divvy that money up. With Memphis, we're not sure how much they can get to, right? So I don't think anyone expects Memphis to get to the maximum. And so the question is, what number do you get to, and then how does that number compare with the rest of the teams in this conference? And then how does that affect what you want to do in terms of conference realignment? Because this stuff all connects, right? So you end up with, okay, you guys are only generating this much money as a department, and other conferences are looking at you and saying, okay, well, what's the cost-benefit analysis for us to bring you in? And so, and how are you guys managing it? Because every single school is kind of going about this independently. Like, they can all basically approach it however they want. Like you just said, those are recommendations. If you want to just give all your money to, I mean, there's going to be lawsuits about this, about how much money you can give to what program. But, some schools don't have teams in some of those sports, right? So that's obviously going to change how they approach it. Right. And so there's going to be schools out there that do things that look strange or are different, and are going to be really successful. And so kind of on an athletic director to athletic director level, there's a lot of opportunity for people to kind of show how they can navigate this situation and figure out the best way forward for their school.
That's interesting. You mentioned that some schools don't have, and good schools, making money schools, don't have particular sports. And let's take Gonzaga, for instance. Gonzaga gets really good money because they're on national TV all the time. They have a separate setup with the West Coast Conference, which may change when they go to the Pac-12s. But at this point, they keep the majority of their money. They could actually spend $20.5 million on basketball if they chose to do that. They won't. I don't know if they'll spend up to the max because, remember, they're not getting football TV money, which is a lot, but they don't need it. So I don't know how all this works out. And then you throw in NIL with a clearinghouse, which all seems kind of weird and not uniform to me because of market size differences, and somebody might get a national spot. I mean, it's all kind of still up in the air, and there's really no cap on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, to kind of go off that, a lot of thing that people have been talking about is the Big East, right, for basketball.
Yeah.
So if the Big East for basketball is just giving all that money to basketball because a lot of those schools don't have football programs or they have FCS programs, then suddenly you're at a huge advantage, right? So other schools, even SEC and Big Ten schools, are looking at some of the Big East schools and saying, like, we might not be able to outspend these guys once this thing goes through because if you're in the SEC, obviously you got to spend a lot of money on football, kind of regardless of what school you are, even if your basketball team is really good. And so the Big East might end up with a huge advantage here. Again, I think all this stuff, it's going to be really strange at first, and there's going to be a lot of different things going on and people taking wildly different approaches. And then I think it'll level out at some point. Obviously, that's kind of how all these things go. But once this thing, assuming it passes and it goes, especially with how long this situation has been dragged out, you know, this was supposed to like be done months ago,
right?
And we're still here trying to figure out what the path forward is.
Well,
so I think there's going to be a lot.
All this comes down to really simple stuff. Like, are they going to grandfather in roster sizes because they don't want kids who'd already been promised to get let go? So it's a worthy thing. It seems to me it should have been figured out a bit ago. I am really curious and really fast if you know. What is the Big East television revenue? I mean, it's nowhere near the $63 million the Big Ten brought in because of football. So I know they don't have to share it with anyone unless you're Connecticut, but I don't think it can be that much. Is it as much as $10 million a year each school?
I don't know what the money is, but they have a pretty good. I mean, for basketball, they have, obviously that's what it is. It's only basketball, but they got a good deal. They're on Fox all the time, But again, the thing is, it doesn't matter because how much money is Florida going to be able to give to its men's basketball program when they have to take care of football, right? Like, sure. That's the question. And that's going to be less than whatever, you know, Villanova is going to be able to share, assuming they're able to get to that number. So, it's like with this thing, every time there's something else, you kind of offshoot into a different, well, what does this mean for this, right? So it's just going to be crazy kind of navigating this whole situation.
Don't worry, the Pope is now going to take care of Villanova. They're
true, very true.
Jonah Dillon, as always, we appreciate it. Oh, by the way, I am going to be off the next couple of weeks, so when we convene, it'll be 3 weeks from today, and I appreciate you being on.
All right, sounds good.
All right, that is Jonah Dillon from the Commercial Appeal. He's brought to you by Grind City and their wonderful products, things like Poppies and Tiger Tail, and of course, Gator Patrol. That's the tangerine cream sour. And then there's just the spot. If you have not been to the brewery, you are missing something. This was a father and son dream years ago, and it has really come true. They got a stage that they've built permanently now on this beautiful, beautiful site that is just north of downtown. You see the city landscape, you see the river, you see the bridges, and it's a perfect place for a picnic or a concert. So Grind City, with all their products, and they're all, by the way, in all the spirit shops in town. It has not only become an iconic taste, it's an iconic place. Go check out Grind City Brewing. We'll see you tomorrow. Oh, man, we'll be busy. We got golf picks for the PGA. That'll come last. We got Dennis Philippi on his views and Joe Dank on the business of sports. It'll be a busy Wednesday. You still got Tuesday to conquer. And to help you do that, Johnny Radio is right around the corner. Have a great day, everyone.